What's up, guys? This is Pyromaniac 720, and here today I have part 3 of my Pseudo-Legendary series, which is on Salamence. So, get right into it. Salamence, base stats, looking at it, of course, adds up to 600, as we've mentioned, but just kind of looking, we have base 95 HP, 135 attack, 80 defense, 110 special defense, 110 special attack, 80 special defense, and 100 speed. So looking at Salamence, again, like the last two Pseudo-Legendaries we looked at, it's got that high attack stat, pretty much the same, only 1 point higher than Tyranitar and Dragonite. But something it has a little different is it's got the highest attack stat of the 3 so far, sitting at base 110. Tyranitar had 95, Dragonite had 100. Also, it's got slightly lower defenses with only base 80 defense and special defense. But however, it makes up for that with its base 100 speed, making it the fastest Pseudo-Legendary that we've seen so far. So Salamence is really used for its speed. I mean, I don't really see many bulky Salamences. I mean, some Salamence might be EV to survive like an HP Ice from an Etric. But I mean, typically you have a Salamence because of its speed and because it can hit hard both especially and physically. But more on that later. So, some facts about Salamence. It's a dragon flying type. Ability is Intimidate. Hidden ability is Moxie. It's really used for its Intimidate, though. I mean, if you look at the usage stats on Sweeper Calc, 99% of, more than 99%, it was a 99.4, I think, percent of Salamences had Intimidate, and the rest had Moxie. So Intimidate is really the ability to use, and that's why it's such a popular choice, because it's a good Pokemon to shuffle Intimidate with. It's got all the same resistances and everything as Dragonite, because both dragon flying. 4-time resistance to grass, 2-time resistance to bug, water, fire, fighting. Neutral to electric, steel, normal, flying, psychic, ghost, dark. 2 times weak to dragon, fairy, and rock. 4 times weak to ice, and immune to ground. So, Salamence has only a few uses, really. Not, in my opinion, not quite as versatile as Dragonite or Tyranitar, which can be an issue. Because when you see a Salamence, you pretty much know what's coming. Of course, you have a few Salamence here or there that are like really weird and freaky and people use in a cool way, but for the most part, most Salamences are pretty much the same. So first, we're going to talk about physical Salamence. So as I mentioned, physical Salamence, or just Salamence in general, sorry, has base 135 attack, which is very high. It's just as high. I think it's actually higher than Garchomp. Don't quote me on that though. We'll figure that out next Pseudo-Legendary series. Higher than Dragonite, higher than Tyranitar. And people run a Jolly Nature on it because base 100 is a good speed to have because there's a lot of popular Pokemon in the base 100 tier, so you're kind of looking to at least speed tie them or outspeed the bulky ones. However, VGC 14 physical Salamence is a rare sight, and people usually go for a special Salamence. There's a lot of Intimidates and Burns going around because there's a lot of strong physical attackers. So, I mean, usually if a Pokemon can go special, people do go special with it. So some of its notable physical moves are Dragon Claw, Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, Zen Headbutt, Crunch, Double Edge, Aerial Ace, Fly, Steel Wing, Rock Tomb, Rock Slide, and Stone Edge. Not really a great physical move pool. Dragon Claw, of course, is good. The Fangs aren't that good. Zen Headbutt's okay, but I mean, you're not going to really hit much with it since it's not stab. Not hit very hard since it's not stab. Crunch is okay. Double Edge is Aerial Ace and Fly. I put Aerial Ace on there because it's stab. And Fly, I know it's a 2-turn move, which in VGC is not very reliable. But I mean, if you gave it a Power Herb, I guess you can get one good Fly off. Steel Wing to hit fairies. Rock Tomb for speed control. Rock Slide for flinches. Stone Edge just to hit things like Talonflame and Mega Charizard Y-Hard. So moving on, we're going to look at the special Salamence, which, as I mentioned before, most people go for special Salamence, and it's got base 110 special attack, so it's definitely a good special attacker. But again, its move pool is pretty limited in terms of like good special moves. So looking at it, we have Draco Meteor, Dragon Pulse, Hydro Pump, Fire Blast, and Flamethrower. I mean, it's really, I mean, it's got, I think it gets Round. I think it's Ember. I mean, it doesn't really get any. As a move tutor in Black and White, it got Heat Wave, which is probably going to come back. If move tutors come back, I'm sure it'll get Heat Wave again come Oris. I think the one thing Salamence really has going for it is its Mega Evolution coming up. I think that's good. I think physical Salamence is really going to make a comeback, especially with return being affected by Aerial 8. It's going to have a really strong flying stab. which most dragons don't have. They don't have the flying dragons don't really have that special or that second like kind of stab. Especially if there's really not a good physical stab move for flying types. I mean, there's Drill Peck and Fly, but most Pokemon don't get Drill Peck, and Fly is a 2-turn move, which with all the protects is not really good in VGC. So most people when they go, I guess I'll just go to this next in the Scarf Salamence. But like I said, one big reason people use Salamence is it's a speedy special attacker that can hit hard, so you can kind of fire off these fast Draco Meteors, and people a lot of the times like to Scarf it, so that way it outspeeds pretty much the entire metagame at base 100. So you can give it a modest nature, give it 252 EVs and a special attack, and you don't even have to give it 252. If you give it 156, that at least lets you outspeed all of the base 135s, which is like Mega Manetric. Max speed 135s by 1 point. It'll put you. I think it puts you at 207, and those base 135s are at 205. It won't let you outspeed Mega Aerodactyl, but me personally, I wouldn't work to outspeed that just because it's just not very popular. But I mean, if you want to, you can just go straight 252 and go for a speed tie with other Salamence. So I think another reason that makes Salamence a good Scarf candidate is just the fact that it has Intimidate. So usually you're going to switch out Scarf Pokemon because at some point you're going to get locked into a move that you don't want. Or in Salamence's case, you're going to fire off a couple Draco Meters. All of a sudden you're at -4, and you're going to hit as hard as like a Combuskin. So you're going to want to switch out, and Salamence is great for that because of Intimidate. Intimidate is a great move to shuffle around. A lot of people have teams that focus around Intimidate shuffling with Volt Switch Manetric and switching in and out Scrafties and Salamences and stuff like that. And it really just puts a lot of pressure on your opponent because either they're forced to switch out their physical attacker, or they're going to have to stay in and either hope for a critical hit because that'll avoid the stat drop, or they're going to have to hope that that you're just low health. I mean, if you burn or intimidate physical attackers, like it just puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to kind of play better or force switches, which allows you to just keep kind of putting offensive pressure on. Oh, sorry about that, campus police outside. And this Intimidate shuffling is a huge reason people opt for a Scarf Salamence over a Scarf Hydreigon, even though Hydreigon hits so much harder, which again we're going to get into when I get to Hydreigon for Pseudo-Legendaries. But it just hits so much harder than Scarf Salamence. But, I mean, Salamence has that Intimidate, Scarf Hydreigon's 4 times weak to Fairy, so 2 big reasons right there. Scarf Salamence is a popular choice. So looking at item choices, as I mentioned, Choice Scarf is a very popular choice, pun intended, for Salamence. Another popular choice, and one that Aaron Zhang, also known as Cybertron, used at Worlds, was Modest Choice Spec Salamence, which hits like a truck. I mean, if you give something with base 110 special attack Choice Specs, it's going to hit hard. But it really comes down to what your team needs. If your team needs that Pokemon that's going to outspeed, Garchomp and other dragons and one-hit KO them, then you're probably going to want to go with like a Modest Scarf Salamence, just because there's no... For example, looking at it, Ray Rizzo went with a Timid Scarf, and I didn't really agree with that. And this was at Massachusetts Regionals, which he won. I didn't really agree with that because, I mean, Modest Scarf already outspeeds, if you give it 252 speed EVs, already outspeeds so much of the metagame. So I really don't understand what he was going for with the Timid Scarf. I guess I don't know how popular other Timid Scarf Salamence were at the time, just because I had just recently got into the metagame at that time. So I'm not really sure how popular they were, but I mean, I just think Modest Scarf, it's so much harder and outspeeds the entire unboosted metagame. So I don't really know what he was going for with that. I guess you could read his team report on Nugget Bridge and find out. And that's also why he's a 3-time world champ, and my biggest accomplishment is a top 16 at LCQ. So I guess you can't really question him. So if you look at Sweeper Calc, the top 5 most popular items are Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Life Orb, Habenberry, and Assault Vest. I personally like running Life Orb just because of most people expect a choice item, especially Scarf. So first turn they might go for like a double target on me, and I can just protect because I have a life orb, so I don't have to worry about getting locked into anything. So I can use protect, and it really kind of turns the game around. Habenberry is nice because if you want to go like with a modest Salamence, you can survive a Draco Meteor from another Salamence and then hit back. And Assault Vest is nice because you can survive Draco Meteors and maybe some ice attacks, depending on who hits you with them. And it just kind of makes Salamence a overall, pretty bulky Pokemon. I'll put it at base 120 special defense. Me personally, like I said, I like Life Orb, but if I go Scarf, I want Modest, and if I go Specs, I'm gonna go Timid, just because I think it's, or if you want to go Specs, you can go Modest as well, depending on what your team needs, but I would never go Timid Scarf. I tried it. I don't think it gives you a lot of firepower. That's why I prefer Life Orb or Specs, so I'm going to go Timid. So, that is my team analysis, not team analysis, sorry. That is my Pseudo-Legendary analysis on Hoenn's Pseudo-Legendary Pokemon, which is Salamence. Hoenn also has another Pseudo-Legendary in Metagross, but Metagross is not VGC 14 legal, and since this channel is supposed to be dedicated to VGC 14, I'm not really going to talk about it. I guess I'll mention it briefly, kind of with a future hold. I think Metagross is going to be a massive factor in next year's metagame, just because of its Mega Evolution. I think its Mega Evolution is going to be ridiculously overpowered, and I think it's going to be kind of like the Kangaskhan of this year. I think it's going to have a pretty good base speed that it can work with. I think it's going to have massive attack, and already has really good defense being a steel type, and I'm sure it's going to have pretty decent special defense. The only thing that's going to hurt it is the fact that they nerfed steel this year by making it not resist dark and ghost like it has in the past, so now it can get hit super effectively for sucker punches and shadow balls from sucker punch from Kangaskhan and shadow ball from AG Slash, so that's going to be interesting. And as for Salamence, I think Mega Salamence is going to be huge also because it already sits at base 100 speed. So now, it's probably going to get a speed increase. So I bet it's going to go to at least base 105. I doubt they're going to keep it the same, although they might because Charizard had base 100 and both Mega Charizards have base 100. So maybe they'll keep it at base 100. But I think it's going to get a little bit of a speed increase. And that's just going to really mess with Pokemon like Garchomp because now all of a sudden you got a new fast dragon that's going to have a massive attack stat. I'm guessing it's going to have at least 150 attack. And then, go with a Dragon Claw and an Aerialate. Aerialate. Go with a Dragon Claw and a Return, which is affected by Aerialate. And then maybe a Rock Slide and Protect. And you got yourself a pretty solid Salamence right there. A Salamence that could probably, I haven't done any calcs, but bet you it can one-hit KO some of the Mega Venusaur, which not many Pokemon can say they can do. So that's my Pseudo-Legendary analysis. Hope you enjoyed it. Comment with anything I could do better. Share this with your friends. And look out for Garchomp, which is next.